Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Writer's Zoo, where visitors can witness the writers wander in their natural habitat. I'm Matt David, and I'll be your tour guide today. Together, we will go on a journey across the whole World Wide Web and observe all kinds of writers. To our left is our first stop, the self-insert fanfic writer. Watch as she writes herself into the fiction she likes and passes it off as legitimate writing.
Oh my god, my character is best friends with this main character, and all the main members of this boy band, and all the greatest people in the whole world. And ooh, in this story, all the hot guys want to hook up with me. I mean my character. They want to hook up with my character. Oh, imagine the story's alright once I turn 13.
As you can see, the delusions are strong with this one, but at least she's passionate. To your right, still in the fanfic writer's habitat, is the level slightly above the self-insert writer, the My Canon is Better writer, who believes the attractive bad guys are simply misunderstood and rearrange the suitors of the love interests to their liking.
Oh, that one character is so annoying, even though she's been nothing but nice to the hero. He deserves better than her. So I'm gonna kill her off and get him with this other character he's never met. Oh, they'd be so cute together. And have the villain hook up with him too. Yeah, I know he's murdered thousands of people, including the parents of the hero, and has tortured numerous major characters, but just look at his beautiful face! He can't be that bad, can he? He actually wants nothing but the best for the world. I just know it!
Always an entertaining writer to observe. Now, we're going to cross this bridge and make our way to the next section of the Writer's Zoo. Here we see the exhibits of different types of original fiction writers, including the dark and edgy writer.
Yes, my story's Skullblood is so brutal. The main character's a violent sociopath who's murdered puppies and kicks children in the face. Oh, he's so cool. Mom, I need more Hot Pockets!
More Hot Pockets coming your way, sir.
Wait, who are you?
I'm the Writer's Zookeeper, of course. This is the Writer's Zoo, after all.
Well, make it quick before I skin you to the bones and wear you as a Halloween costume.
And of course, let's not forget the snobbish poetry writer.
Running, scurrying, scraping, I ran away from my home. Angry, hungry, hangry, I kept going, pushing my boots in the mud, shoving my innocence aside. I couldn't bear my parents hating, not understanding, not getting how I feel. I had to leave them behind and make my own path, forming, making, creating. That's the path I lead, away from my stupid family. Stupid.
The Look, Squirrel writer.
Oh my god, I've got so many ideas! Ooh, wait, how about this idea instead? And how about this one? Ooh, and this one? Oh, no, and that one. Oh, wait. No, that idea is way better. And that one, too. Let me put it in my notebook. And I've got 2 more on my phone. I gotta run into the fridge and remember all the other ideas I left on my bedpost, too. Oh my god, I've got so many ideas! Now I just need to sit down and actually write something.
And the Single Idea writer.
Hey, come on! Why am I in this exhibit, David? I've got way more ideas than Megazoic. I'm working on a new book right now, in fact. Sure, I mean, I've worked a lot on Megazoic in the past. I've had like 4 different versions of it, and several completed sequels, and a couple of not completed sequels and spin-offs, and a few Megazoic games, including several attempts to make a real-time strategy game, not to mention the spoofs, and the side projects, and the short stories, and of course the film script for the current version of Megazoic that I'm working on. But come on, all that's behind me! I'm writing this new story now, so I'm not a single idea writer, I swear!
No, you're not a single idea writer. No, you're not, Donald.
Now, Writer Zookeeper, deliver a pizza to this exhibit, please.
Ooh, pizza! That'll really get me energized for another session of writing the Megazoic script.
Visit the Writer's Zoo, the Writwit's sponsor for this week, where visitors can observe all these wondrous creatures and more. It's a jungle out there. A writing jungle. Who wrote this slogan?
Hey guys, so Matt David's finally back, so since he's finally returned, I'll give him the honors of saying the Welcome Fellow Nerds bit. So, hit it, David.
Oh, how nice of you, Donald. Thank you. Welcome, fellow nerds, to another episode of the Writwit, the show with a teenage fanfic writer's writ and a lowly simpleton's wit. Although we are still better than you listeners, we swear.
Yeah, I mean, we're so much better than you that we have to keep reminding you that we are, so you don't forget it.
Because we're totally secure in the knowledge that we are better than you, so we keep harping on it.
Anyways, ain't that the truth?
Ain't that the truth? That's exactly. We're not overcompensating.
Anyways, welcome back.
It's good to be back. I'm back in Japan. If listeners couldn't tell the bit of a difference there.
Yeah,
the reason,
I like to think it's flawless.
It sounds like we're in the same room. Great, but obviously some listeners might have been aware because we did a special episode about grief in the middle of this super long set now.
Yeah, it's pretty lengthy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty lengthy. Like, we had a couple of unplanned breaks, including one where I actually went back to America.
Dang it, I should have done That's What She Said, but it's too late now. So, I'm editing that out, or am I? I don't know.
I'd hope you do, because you're not usually the one who uses those jokes.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, go on. You're back in Japan. And
I am back in Japan, and we are actually recording this a little bit early. By now, listeners, you know the surprise, but we're recording this a little bit earlier than we need to get it ready.
Yeah.
And
just so we have a bit of a longer break before we do the next 4. So
yeah, well, there's that too. But the reason I bring this up is that today happens to be a very special day. Obviously, in Japan, I am a day ahead of people, and as we're recording this, it is actually Father's Day.
Man, that's rough.
And listeners might remember in our episode of talking about grief that I lost my father last month.
Right.
So, this is the first. This is the first Father's Day in my life. The first of presumably several where I don't. I mean,
to be fair, the rest.
Well, exactly.
However many that is.
However many it is, you're absolutely right. But
unless your mom remarries, which she probably won't. She almost certainly won't. But maybe she will.
I mean, my father. That'd be my stepfather if I had one.
I guess that's true.
But this is the first Father's Day I've had without my dad, and so I wanted to make a shout out. I know that it's coming late, but because we're recording it on Father's Day, I felt like I wanted to give a shout out to all of my friends who are all of the father figures in my life.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for
it sucks, man.
And thank you for your support too, Donald. But anyway, the reason I bring it up is because we're finally getting to our what we at the Ritwit have writ segment. Because
it's been like 7 episodes in, and we're finally doing it.
We're finally doing it. We didn't forget. It's just a matter of the schedule got really bad because we did all of these random, unplanned interludes. Thank you to our guest hosts, by the way, the 2 Christinas. For stepping in and making it so I had a little bit of
Franklin, time. Chapman, and Moore. Who's who?
Who is who? Wait, are you mixing married and maiden names then? Even that's fine.
I'm going back and forth. See, Chapman and Moore, Eilert and Franklin.
Right,
it's a crisscross.
It's a crisscross. Anyway, but yeah, thank you for stepping in on that. Thank you for always supporting the podcast. It was nice to have some time to process this, but I do want to bring it up one last time and hope to God I don't lose myself because it is something that I writ.
Yes, please.
But I'll go ahead and I'll save that for the end of this segment because that way, theoretically, if I'm breaking down that, Donald can talk about his stuff and I have time to cry in peace. Anyway, so what I have writ. We are approaching the end game. I say we as my co-author and I, not Donald, sadly, are approaching the end game for Starburst.
I'd like to think I'm helping in spirit, but...
in spirit, maybe. Starburst, Season 1. I did write an episode. I actually had to redo the thing because I forgot about a major plot point that I wanted to use. And I totally glossed over it. So it's like, whoopsie doodles. I better fix that.
At least you've had a lot on your mind. So.
I did. You're right. I did, because this had basically happened before any of the accident went down. But I was able to get in and fix that. Actually, the fix was pretty simple. I ended up using this faceless villain for an attack, and I really should have just used the villain that I wanted to have the reveal. So I ended up switching it. It worked. So I turned it over to my co-author, and because he is a teacher, we were hoping to make tracks on it, get through Season 1 while he's on summer vacation. Fingers crossed. We'll see how it goes.
Okay.
As for me...
we shall see.
As for me, with a quote-unquote real job, I don't get one unless I take a summer vacation, so, oh well. Anyway, I had to work on some not-so-fun bits as well, with plenty of translation work preparing for my upcoming journey to America. Yeah, that's right. I'm going back again. This time I get to go with middle and high schoolers. Great fun.
Yep, and you'll be a state away from me, so
and I will be. Yeah, we won't be able to see each other, but we might have recorded the next set by then. Who knows? We'll see what happens. Anyway,
hopefully we'll find out.
Hopefully, because if we don't, I don't think we'll make it. Anyway,
all right, Christina, come back! I need you again.
The last thing that I wanted to mention that I have writ, because it is obviously quite a bit of writing. Plus, I did the tribute to my father that I read at his memorial service.
Yes.
That's why we were in
you
the
and your
same
brother
room.
did. I liked how he was like, I'm not as wordy as my brother.
That is definitely true. Although I'm really kind of disappointed, because we had actually talked about what he was going to say, and my mom brought up a couple of good stories that she thought would be really, fun to lighten the mood, and he didn't end up putting them in. But
well, speaking of lighten the mood, I did like how your tribute was really funny. Like, it was heartfelt too, but there were a lot of funny moments in it. I just think it's good because that's you. That's who you are. That's who we are, obviously. So we're funny guys. Well, we like to think we are.
Well, and most of my
funny.
humor came from my father, so I inherited his
but
love
the way
of
you acted
puns
it was pretty good too. Like, I especially like that part where you talk about how your mother drove.
Anyway, so we did various tributes, and my mom brought up a couple of stories that she was hoping he'd include, but in the end he didn't make it. If he is listening to this, I'm very proud of the fact that he made it through without losing control, because it's not easy to talk about that, when you lose someone, but he managed, and I stood up there in solidarity with him, and he did the same for me.
Yes.
And I tell you what, in the last several years, my brother and I have gotten much closer than we ever were before, because, boys tend to fight when they're in their youth.
Right. He's actually friended me on Facebook, so that's something.
Yeah. Anyway, that we were able to record the grief episode together because I was home. I was actually there. So that's why we did that. Plus, of course, Donald dealt with some loss in his family as well. 2 pets within the 2-week span. Not to bring that up.
The Penny thing has still hit me hard. Like, he was like a service animal to me. And how much he was there for me to, I don't know, this isn't a grief episode. I shouldn't bring it, but yeah.
No. Sorry, I opened that can of worms. It's my fault.
That's okay.
Anyway, originally, for that eulogy, I wanted to crib one of my old works. And in the end, though, I couldn't find the file.
Oh, no.
I couldn't find the most updated version of the file that actually included that service that I wrote.
I mean,
which originally was based on my grandfather's service 14 years prior. Anyway, in the end, I had to start fresh, and I ended up only repurposing the most memorable line for my own use. And so, if Donald doesn't mind, I felt that I wanted to share that with you on this Father's Day.
Go ahead. Absolutely.
And though I will never meet him on this mortal plane again, I know that his spirit and his example will guide me for the rest of my days. Even though I know I said it plenty, I can never say it enough. I love you.
It's very heartfelt. It's very fitting for a thing like that. So, you're a good person, David.
Well, I appreciate the vote of confidence, Donald.
You need a minute?
Nah, actually, you gave me a moment of silence enough that I think I will manage. I appreciate that. So, I'd like to turn it over to you. What have you written?
Yes, this is completely different. But I did not have to have a service for my bird, thankfully. So I didn't have to write an eulogy about that.
Or your dog.
Or the dog, that's true. The dog hasn't hit me as hard just because she was old, and so I knew it was coming.
Sorry, we should stop opening these wounds.
Anyway,
what have you written?
Alright, I've mainly been working on promotional material for my book, like more of that stuff.
Sure.
Earlier today, before recording, I went to Dinosaur Ridge in Morrison, Colorado. It's one of the places that is selling my book in their gift shop. And I've hosted a sales event for my book alongside their Dinosaur Discovery Day. This Dinosaur Discovery Day, they have those throughout the summer. A bunch of people come in for activities, tours, and other stuff. I had a booth with my books, and also guided people to the gift shop where my books were also sold. And also behind me was the the dig pit where you can dig for fossils in like this fake sort of sandbox thing.
I was
So
about to
it's for
say,
the
they
kids.
probably lace like toy stuffs in there or whatever so people can...
Oh, no, it's situated in the ground. They don't have...
Oh, so it's potentially real.
Yeah.
You said it was toy stuff, so I wasn't sure.
No, it's fake, but it looks like
It looks like you're actually trying to dig up something.
yeah.
Okay.
There's also a cool footprint thing there. It has like some fake footprints there for the kids to see how different types of footprints are for dinosaurs. Not just so much what dinosaurs they're from, but also like how it shows the behavior of the animal. Like you can see if a dinosaur is walking versus running based on how far apart their feet are.
Sure.
You can also see if one of a dinosaur is limping based on if the footprints...
Like the depth of the footprint?
Well, also like that they're coming like 1 2 1 2
Oh, fair enough.
1 2
Yeah,
1
the
2
frequency of the steps might be helpful too.
Yeah, and it's like
in other
close to
other words, Donald was in a candy shop.
basically. But so I was selling my books there. I went pretty well. I sold about half of the stock that they had, so that's pretty good. That means sooner rather than later they'll ask for more books, and I'll be able to give them some more for a hefty fee.
For a hefty fee, of course, yeah. One question I had, though, was did you have just the original book, or did you have some of the sequels there, too?
We had both of the sequels there, too. And I also brought the proof copy of the final one.
I was about to
just
say,
to show to paper.
we're not published just yet, right?
We're very close.
Very close.
So close. It should be the end of this
month. Maybe the surprise episode will have you saying it's published, even though that'll go out before this one.
Yeah, no, but honestly, what's going to happen? Like, this will probably be published by the time.
Okay. So, congratulations! Woo! You're published.
I'm published! Yo! I got all my books published! Yo, man,
All
it's
your
so...
books.
All
your books.
I don't even have a
Single-
speech prepared. I really don't.
Mr. Single Idea Writer.
That's true. I guess this is my writing career is over now.
There you go. You aren't topping that.
Podcast is over. I have no need to write anymore.
Oh, well, I guess that means I have a lot more free time now. Thanks.
I'm sorry that this has been holding you up so much, David.
I'm heartbroken that we're ending this. No, anyway. So, you have more... Do you have more opportunities through the Dinosaur Ridge?
Oh yeah, no, I'll go back there again through another Dinosaur Discovery Day. Like they have those, like there'll be another one next month, so I'll definitely go for those. A fun note. Lexi Ryan, previous guest host of the show, came in to support me. She was there with me and watched as I sold some books and met some volunteers there who had already read the books. So
didn't you say that she had a shirt with all the covers on it?
Yes, there's the Special-made shirt that I also have. My parents have that has all the covers on it, and she wanted one, so I got her one too.
Okay. Anyway, did she wear it?
She did not, unfortunately.
Okay. All right.
Well, that's okay.
Sorry, we've been running a little longer than usual on this segment because it's been so long. It feels like we had to cover so much stuff,
catch
right?
Up, you know?
Not.
Rekindle our spirits, you know?
Rekindle our spirits. But anyway, we are back to our set of why is such a genre hard to write, and this time, if you...
What are we going to talk about, David? What? The suspense is killing me!
We're talking about suspense, or...
Yeah! The segues are back, baby!
Segues are back. Actually, that one was not too bad, I gotta say.
Thank you. That's actually... Wait, no, that's an insult. They're supposed to be terrible. They're supposed to be very forced.
And speaking of which...
Yeah. Let's see. I don't know what we're going to do, but I'm sure it's going to be a thrill. And speaking of which, we're talking about suspense thriller.
Oh, why didn't we just leave it at the first good one and move on? Anyway,
that's exactly
why is it so hard to write, and how do you take it beyond?
Yes. The
we've got some
anticipation
thoughts
is
about
killing
this.
me, David.
We've got some thoughts about this. I guess you're letting me go first. Is that right?
Yeah,
okay.
I suppose.
Oh, okay. How nice of you. Thank you. So anyway, we usually say on the podcast that there's no such thing as an original idea anymore. Merely the combination of different ones together that is the remaining frontier for creativity. You go. Sorry.
No, that's fine. I was gonna make a joke, but I realized it wasn't very good. Okay, think about that, listeners. The amount of jokes I have let through.
Yeah, exactly.
But
how bad must it have been that he actually censored himself? I'm
We'll never
I'm just
know.
waiting in bated breath to find out. Anyway.
Okay, now it's going a bit too forced, but that's great. Let's keep it up.
With this genre in particular, most of the twists are done somewhere before. So
Yes.
it's tough to extricate yourself from the pattern and deliver what you could consider a true surprise. And yet, the crux of thriller, or suspense, whichever you prefer, is the suddenness with which things can change, ever present and stimulating to the reader. Don't worry so much about hitting new beats, instead keep the pace hopping, and the action will suck readers in like moths to a flame. Far as taking it beyond, something I appreciate from one of my favorite authors in this vein, Dean Koontz, is using everyday characters thrust into spectacular situations they have no choice but to confront or fail.
Right.
You don't need to reinvent the wheel, but don't let it sit idle.
Of course. Well, that sounds good.
Keep it rolling. Gotta keep it rolling. Don't Rolling Stone gathers no moss, as they say, which is not entirely true.
Here's a new beat. Here's a new twist. I don't think it's been done before. All right, listen to this.
All
Bear
right,
with
let's
me.
go. Let's go.
What if? Okay, and this is gonna sound crazy, but what if?
Oh my god.
The bad guy is the main character's father. I know it's Father's Day, so we can't imagine a bad guy.
Can't imagine a bad guy being a.
I mean, again, this is recorded like 2 weeks after. This will be posted 2 weeks after.
2 weeks after.
But just imagine. Sorry,
And for more spoilers on Star Wars, listen to just about any other episode of the.
I mean, no one spoiled Star Wars until you just did there. But... Okay. All right, for me, suspense thriller. It's a fun genre because there's so many different types of dressing around it that a writer can use.
Sure.
I looked at a list on the Google Matron to see the different types of thriller. There's a sci-fi thriller, there's political thriller, there's crime thriller, there's mystery thriller, there's conspiracy thriller, there's psychological thriller, there's spy thriller, and apparently there's romantic thriller.
Really? I wouldn't believe that unless I read one.
Yeah, like give me. I was like,
come on,
examples,
will
please.
they? Won't they? Is that really so thrilling?
Yeah, Friends is a real suspense thriller show.
Real suspense thriller show, guys. Anyway.
Alright, so what makes the suspense thriller genre distinct, regardless of the narrative it's in, is the tension. The characters are never safe. They're always 1 inch away from ruin, in one form or another.
Sure.
Stakes are high, and time is short, and the reader has to feel every point of pressure for the work to be an effective thriller. To take it beyond, though, I think you'll need to study the greats like Dean Koontz, or one of my favorites, Michael Crichton, and build up upon them. Like, one of my favorite authors, like I said, Michael Crichton, he's the master of the thriller. He always took it beyond by the using the high concept premises of his stories like time-traveling knights or dinosaur parks or nanotechnology or space viruses. There's no limit to what kind of story you can tell through the lens of a suspense thriller.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, especially because it's simply, I mean, it's more like a basic descriptor rather than a hole to fill with a certain story, right?
No, it definitely is. Like, other genres, they're more about what the story's about, but a thriller's more like about how it's told.
Sure.
So
there's that.
Yeah.
Next question for this particular episode, then. How can a writer successfully build tension worthy of the genre?
I don't know.
And again, keeping in mind that it can go through all of these various forms, all of these other types of story, just being fast-paced and exciting and less predictable and, that kind of a thing.
I'm struggling to imagine a romantic thriller.
As I said, I'll believe it when I read it. I'm sorry. We are obviously males, such that will they, won't they drama is not really thriller. It's drama, not denying that, but it's not
but there's
very
nothing high
suspenseful.
There's nothing
very
fast-paced
thrilling
or
to me.
high tension about it. Like,
well, I mean, if you
maybe-
look at Hollywood movies, maybe, but even then, it's only
here
because
we
of
go.
their runtime, not because of their story.
right. I got it. Here we go.
All right.
All right. So someone sends a text to the girl he likes. Is she gonna respond? Was she gonna respond? Oh no, he said something stupid. Oh no, will she respond?
I
Oh, she
can't
respond.
delete the
Everything's-
message. Oh no! Will what
It's
will
lost
she
into
say?
into the aerospace. That's not the right word. But
The what?
I said it's lost in the aerospace.
The aerospace. It's lost.
I don't even know what I was trying to say.
I don't even know what you were going for. Anyway, no, I don't know. like with how fast things have to happen in films, it's one thing, but the passage of time is expected in film because they have to keep the runtime short. With a book, you don't have that luxury, right?
Right, okay.
Well,
you know how in romantic comedies, there's the classic, you have to stop the love interest before they get on the plane and leave the main character or whatever, or leave the world behind.
Have to proclaim your feelings with this dramatic backdrop.
When they're going to the airport, there's like a chase sequence. like it's a really intense one.
Ooh! I got it. Romantic thriller. The partner that you want so bad and you keep discovering them with flings and they're like racing against the clock to stay ahead of you. I don't know.
Isn't that Scott Pilgrim?
No. Not that I'm aware of.
I've never seen Scott Pilgrim.
I've never seen Scott
Hot
Pilgrim.
takes, listeners. I'm not a fan of Edgar Wright. I just think he tries too hard, and it just doesn't land for me. Anyway, so thrillers.
All right.
He doesn't write enough. He doesn't do suspense thrillers. So
why are we bringing him up? Anyway, there are narrative tricks to showing, not just telling, about heightened tension.
Right. So,
like, you have somebody his pulse is racing and he hears drum beats in his mind because of the things going on or whatever, you know. The first step is discovering which ones you know, can deploy, and then hone your craft.
Sounds good.
Another suggestion, or maybe I should call it a tipperoonie, is simply continuing the build without the payoff. Sure, the bits may not be as large each time they're added, but the cumulative effect of spacing them out should raise that pulse-pounding excitement.
Right.
Much to my chagrin, this does not have to be done with a great action sequence either.
It should, though. I mean,
action is nice, and we like it, obviously, but action is not just...
different from thriller.
Right. Action is not expressly thriller. It can be thrilling, but it's not... It does not constitute all of what thrills readers, right?
Right, exactly. No, you're right. All right, so tension building is an art, is what I'd say. One that takes quite a bit of practice to write effectively. But basically, show the stakes, make obvious the horrific results of failure, and then come within a hair's breadth of that failure in the scene. Prolong the tension, but to a point. Too long, and the reader will get bored.
Well, they just get numb to it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, negating all the tension that's been built up if you make it so long enough the reader gets bored. But if you go just long enough, it can keep the readers on the edge of their seats the whole way through. An example that I've written recently, well, not recently, it was actually a couple years ago now.
Recently, oh yeah, right.
In my first Megazoic book of this current set that's published.
Oh, you mean not ones that you didn't ever publish?
Yeah, the one with the bad guys had
ago?
New York accents, and it was specifically stated
they
had New York accents.
And they went to the moon to create clones, wasn't it? Or is that am I thinking of
something like that? I don't know.
Something like that.
Again, none of this makes sense to our listeners. So
exactly. Well, I mean, we're describing them fairly effectively, but anyway, don't worry about it.
All right. There's a scene in the first Megazoic book where the main character Cortan is hiding behind something with the bad guy in the same room looking for something. I'm not giving details because I don't want to spoil what's going on.
Hiding behind not the object while the character is looking for some object. Can we say that at least?
Yes, exactly. I made it tense by showing just how close the bad guy gets to Cortan, and showing just what he'll do if he finds him through an earlier scene of the bad guy brutally killing a major character. I even have him tauntingly murder things like... murder.
Tauntingly murder things, right.
Tauntingly murmur things like, "Where are you?" while describing Cortan's fear to the nth degree. Turns out the bad guy had no idea Cortan was even in the room, and was only looking for something else in the room that had fallen close to where Cortan had hid. But, until the bad guy obtains this item, the reader has no idea.
Sure.
It's probably one of my most tense scenes of my writing career. Tense in the classic sense.
It's basically a shell game. You know, you think he's coming in there, he's hunting desperately for something, and the reader doesn't realize that it isn't Cortan until the guy finds what he's looking for.
Right, exactly. And Cortan doesn't realize it's not Cortan until then either. So.
And because he is the focal character, you know, we feel that same tension that he is feeling, which is why you describe that heightened tension. But if you keep prolonging it too much, there's a point at which it becomes ineffective, right? The law of diminishing returns. Yes. So you have to keep that in mind, too.
Yes. That's definitely, like, law of diminishing returns is very important for thrilling, because you can't make it diminish too much, otherwise it's not thrilling anymore.
Well, you can't let it go on too long, or your returns will diminish, and if your returns have diminished, then the payoff is not as successful.
Right. Well, I mean, like, there should be contrast, of course. It shouldn't be all thrilling all the time, and I'll get more into that later. But
yeah, we can talk about that a little bit more later. Not necessarily for recording purposes. You can probably edit this out, but I'm looking at our runtime. We're not even at 26 minutes, and we're already down to, like, what, the last question-ish?
No, there's two more. There's one
there's
and another one.
Thoughts. Okay.
And also, like, that skit was, like, 4 minutes long, so we'll be okay.
I mean, depending on how long you want it to go. But anyway.
I mean, this isn't really a stop. I mean, you can add more. You can ad-lib, I guess. So.
Well, I've been ad-libbing reactions to your stuff, and you've been doing the same to mine, so.
So we'll just keep that up and add more.
All right. More is always the answer. Anyway, this is not going.
I'm gonna keep all this in just to prolong the episode.
Just to continue raising the suspense, right?
Yeah. What will we talk about next? What is it? What?
What are we talking about as opposed to just driveling banter? Anyway.
It's less thrilling and more like annoyance. Like, oh God, will the banter stop?
It never stops. It never stops.
Yep.
Even when we're grieving, it never stops. Anyway.
That's really good.
Next question.
It's good to have you back, David.
I really wouldn't recommend keeping that in, by the way.
I totally am. I don't know. I'll see how it sounds in editing, but
only time will tell. Next question. How long will it take for us to get an easy reference ding, a cheap plug ding in this episode? We haven't done that yet.
I guess if we have to add length. Wait a minute, I could have done it before. Okay. In that scene of Megazoic, I was just talking about with Cortan, if you want to listen to it...
Buy it on Amazon.com. Ding.
Yeah, if you want to read it yourself, buy it on Amazon.com.
I'm sorry, I didn't think about that.
I mean, I don't know. It's
my fault.
It's probably for
my
the best, but...
Well, I mean...
Anyways, what are some good examples?
Spoiler siren, right?
What are some good examples of suspense thriller for writers to try and emulate? Can we stay on topic, please?
Come on, it's us. That's not possible.
I suppose that's
anyway.
true. Let's always try to try, right?
Sure. We do. Well, we manage somehow. It just takes us a little while to get there. You know, we keep the pulse pounding because they're so excited to listen to all these awful jokes of ours and all this witty banter, which is.
Yeah, I like how I said I didn't
until
like.
we finally get to the point.
I like how I said I didn't like Edgar Wright because he tries too hard. Like people listen to us and are like, oh man, that must be terrible.
We try so hard. Anyway, honestly, since we blatantly have a section for stuff we'll rip off. Watch some movies that are exciting to you.
Yes.
There's a reason they get your heart pounding.
Mm-hmm.
So try and isolate those elements that help spur your excitement, keeping in mind that you may not have access to all of them in a book.
Right.
Like, the one that comes to my mind, if you're talking about movies, is the background music.
Yeah, there's
a lot of musical tricks that you can do to heighten tension in the audience, but as a book, you do not have access to that.
Right. No, you don't, so... Gotta figure out how to
it'd be
make
nice.
the music.
It'd be really
with
cool
words.
if you had like a soundtrack. And there are some people that write with music in the background, and it kind of affects their writing. And some people have even gone to suggest, listen to this song when you read this section or whatever.
Right.
It's really neat, but like that takes a lot of work.
And also,
Finding
like
the
your
right
book shouldn't
song.
need that. So
It shouldn't need that to heighten the tension,
Yeah.
and yet that does help heighten the tension.
Right.
So how do you do that in story form? I'm sorry to say, you can't. I mean, I would love it if it were possible, but I think we honestly mentioned something like that back once upon a time in one of our other episodes as well. That when we were talking about song fix, I might have.
Yeah,
brought that
no,
up.
we were. Actually, I was listening to that episode recently for some reason. So yeah, so we did talk about that.
Well, like writing with music is one thing, of course.
suggesting.
I guess a cheap way to do it would be, in the audiobook version of your book, you have the music played as the...
That would be really freaking cheap. Plus, actually, it would be really expensive because you'd have to pay for the license to do it. Right?
Or get someone to compose the music for you.
Or get someone to compose special music, which, I mean, unless it's somebody that you really like, there's no guarantee because obviously taste is subjective.
Right.
Anyways, as far as a book example, because honestly, the thing that, as we talked about earlier, just finding your favorite writers and, improving upon what they've done, or at least, making it your own so you have that trick in your bag of tricks, Personally, I like the Dirk Pitt tales by Clive Cussler.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're a more action-inspired bent.
Yeah, of course.
Or most books by Dean Koontz. He's far more likely to delve into other corners of the thriller genre. So, like, there's one I can remember where a computer ends up going haywire because it develops emotions about this woman, and so it literally, it starts acting like a stalker to isolate her from the rest of the world because only the computer gets to keep her. And that was a really interesting book.
Yeah.
Which at the time, that technology was possible.
As if women didn't have enough to worry about with human stalkers.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Now they have to worry about cyber stalkers, which actually sounds really fun. But anyway, not that I recommend it. I do not recommend it. The word sounds really cool. That's what I meant.
All right, keep that in mind, listeners. Matt David thinks that cyber stalking sounds fun.
Oh my god. I totally did not mean that.
Local Japanese police force, are you listening?
That's nothing compared to the nukes you sent over way back
when.
Anyway.
For God's sakes, you will not let that go.
Hey, I haven't talked about it in a long time.
I think you talked about it last... You literally talked about it last time you were here. We mentioned it on the one about the grief one.
Did we?
Yes. Literally, the last episode you were on, you talked about it. So
No, that's not true. I didn't mention it when I made my cameo in the romance ep.
Okay, fine. From a technical...
Not literally the last one I was on.
Anyways.
I'm sorry. That did not come out the way I intended it. The word sounds really cool. I do not endorse stalking of any nature, be it personal, cyber, other forms. Point being that Dean Koontz is somebody who delves into other areas. Because as we said earlier, thriller is not so much a genre as it is a descriptor.
Right.
And he has done a lot of different things. So, like, there was one that he did with ghosts, there's one that he's done with magic, there's one that he's done with technology, and I'm, generalizing here, there are others as well.
I see.
Obviously, Donald mentioned Crichton.
Yes.
I like his stuff as well.
Yeah.
Something that I'm noticing now that I'm making this point is that most of these stories could be classified as action, so there's a point to be made.
Right.
Alternatively, you should search harder from some good, less active things that are still thrilling. They do exist. They're not necessarily ones that I read a lot, but that doesn't mean they aren't out there.
Find us that romantic thriller that's got to exist out there somewhere for someone to define it.
Ladies, please send us a message and let us know where you found it, because I'd love to know. I don't know if I'd love to read it, but
he'd love to cyber stalk you. Hey, if you're not letting the nuke thing go, I'm not letting that go.
I really set up my own grave on that one, didn't I?
I mean, yeah, sure, cyber stalking a couple of girls is one thing. Literally nuking is another.
Yes, but he didn't literally do it.
And you didn't literally cyber stalk, so everything's fine.
No, but I'm just saying the optics of mine are worse because it could actually happen. You're not insane enough to actually send a nuke.
I don't think you're insane enough to cyber stalk.
Particularly a country that's been nuked twice. Anyways, I'm sorry. Sorry for that.
You talked about, like, we need to add more stuff. We've gone way too far, so...
Yeah, crossing lines we didn't even realize we had not to cross.
Oh, will I mention it again? It adds to the suspense, doesn't it?
Your segues. Are
on point today.
That's not the word I was going to use.
Batting 1,000.
Tom Clancy's books. Tom Clancy's books are great. He's an amazing author setting up tense adventures. I personally recommend the Jack Ryan stuff.
Yeah, no, those are classics.
There are a lot, including the source for the movie Hunt for Red October.
Right. And a crap ton of video games.
What?
And a crap ton of video games. The Tom Clancy video game series.
Yeah, those are more signed off by his
Right.
agency as opposed to really produced by him at this point. But anyway,
Well, he's dead now,
another
isn't
one
he?
that
So-
I discovered, as I said, signed off on.
Yeah.
Anyway, another one that I've discovered more recently that really fits this bill as well is Robert Ludlum.
I've never heard of him.
His books are long, but they are very thrilling.
Okay.
And they tend to dive into other areas, not just always action, like
Right.
Dirk Pitt, as I mentioned earlier.
Right, yeah.
Sorry, with that awful, unintended, really bad joke aside, and all of my gesticulating about this, what do you got
Well,
for
I
us,
guess
Donald?
I'll cut...
Some good examples.
I can cut the tension. That's not the right word. I mean, I guess it would fit for here. Cut the tension with a bit of nukes thrown, missiles thrown the way there.
Oh my gosh.
Well, okay, that's not fair. I can't mention the missiles if I... Yeah, I don't even know what I'm saying.
I don't even know what you're trying to do.
I'm editing this out. For real.
No, thanks. You'll edit that one out. Thanks.
Okay. I want to make sure that I look good.
You heard it here first, listeners.
Alright. As well as the
No
Megazoic
wonder.
example that I mentioned a million years ago at this point.
No. Okay, anyway, moving on.
And as, Matt David here said, anything by Michael Crichton is a good example to lead by. Like, my favorite book of his is, obviously, Jurassic Park. Guess why?
No, I thought it was going to be the Andromeda strain. Really?
No, it's Prey. Obviously.
Prey? No. I seriously thought you'd like Timeline because my dad
I
loved
started Timeline. I think I read it at your... Because you had the book there, and I started reading it. I never finished it. But I would like to. It was interesting.
Yeah.
It's not
an
really a
interesting
thriller, though, is it?
It is. I would argue it is.
Okay.
Because when they get stuck... Sorry, spoilers for this book. I mean, the author's dead at this point, so I don't feel too bad. But
Right.
Spoilers for the book Timeline, that a group of researchers, college students that are working, I guess it's archaeology...
Yeah, it's archaeology. I mean, it's
Field.
historic.
Archaeology field. It's historic excavations and stuff in Europe, and they end up slipping through time back to like medieval times. And one guy has trained his whole life for this, but the others haven't.
Right.
And they get separated. They only have a certain amount of time that they can be there before they have to go back, or they're stuck.
Oh God.
Yeah, I'd say thriller.
I mean, that's true. I guess. Yeah.
That's something else worth adding because I just realized this example. It's a really good tactic to use. Time pressure is a huge...
Well, yeah, adding a time limit to
a
something
very
that just
easy-
automatically adds some.
Well, if you add a time limit, it's going to add tension.
Yes.
Sorry. Now that I've said that, Michael Crichton, you like Jurassic Park.
Yes, there's
Go
some
ahead.
great scenes of tension in that book, like not knowing where the raptors are when they get loose in the control center, or Nedry getting blinded by a Dilophosaurus. That's actually the accurate size in the book, as opposed to the movie where it's this tiny little thing.
Well, I mean, you take those liberties when you're creating things to film, right?
I just think it's funny.
Sorry, we'll
the
talk
raptors,
more about that
The raptors are
next week, I
oversized, and the Dilophosaurus is undersized. So
So Goldilocks, something is right.
yeah, I mean,
Anyway, the humans are the right size. There we go.
I mean,
All
you'd
right.
like to hope they are.
Well, I mean, it's Goldilocks principle, right?
Right.
Anyway,
Anyways, the movies are no slouch in the tension department either. And the second movie, The Lost World Jurassic Park, which that title really should be the other way around, but I digress.
although the title of the book was originally just The Lost World, if I remember.
The book was called The Lost World, yeah, but they could have just called the movie Jurassic Park: The Lost World, because that's usually how sequels are. And that's how Megazoic is. The first book is the title. The second book is title : a subtitle.
Which, if you want to know that subtitle, you should go look it up on Amazon.com.
Okay. I'm over at this point. But
What? That's the second one we've done this entire episode. Why are you over it?
look, all right, we've done a lot of screaming in these episodes, and my throat is fricked right now.
So drink your podcast juice.
I have been.
Boy.
Anyways, in The Lost World Jurassic Park, the T-Rex family knocks the trailers off a cliff, and one car is dangling down while the second is slowly slipping off the edge. So one character falls and lands on the glass window, leading down the cliff, right? Which doesn't break, but starts to fracture with the character on it. She doesn't move, knowing that if she does, the window will break. But the fracture lines slowly spread with each passing second.
Because the weight is still there, she can't redistribute it at all. It just make it worse.
Yep. A backpack is about to slip off a pole, so while this one character tries to go down to the first stuck on the window, a third is trying to reach for the backpack to try and catch it before it falls and shatters the window the first character is trapped on. It's a brilliantly tense scene. Like, I'm sure there are better non-dinosaur examples out there. I guess that one isn't necessarily about the dinosaurs there. I mean, the T-Rex pushed them.
It's not about the dinosaurs, but...
The T-Rex pushed them off the cliff, to begin with, but...
But the tension doesn't come from the T-Rex doing it, it's that fight with dying if they succumb to gravity.
I don't really like that movie
Natural
too much,
forces.
but that scene's great. Like, and like that part where this character's trying to tow them up with like a cable, the pulleys, and just as he's about to pull him up, that's when the T-Rexes come back and eat the poor guy, and then the car goes tumbling down. So
my question becomes: is the reason you don't like The Lost World because of the inaccuracies on the dinosaur portrayal?
Oh no,
or
no,
is
no.
it because the movie's just like
I've grown to accept that with the Jurassic Park and Jurassic World movies. No, it's because the characters are idiots and they keep doing dumb things.
Well, I mean, there's something to that
and
too.
The main heroes are directly responsible for all the deaths.
Well, I mean, that's where the conflict comes from, right?
Right, I guess. It's just like this one character, Sarah Harding, who I think I mentioned it before as a character I don't like. Julianne Moore's character, she's an idiot. She keeps saying that she's like, she's an experienced zoologist, but she does these stupid things throughout the whole movie. She takes a picture of I shouldn't. We've already done enough.
Spoilers.
We've already done enough tangents in this episode.
Oh, well, okay, fine, but...
Alright, fine. She takes a picture next to a baby stegosaurus, which pisses off the mother, and then they start... And life gets threatened because the mother stegosaurus are swinging their spiked tails her way. And, she mentions... She gets onto someone because, T-Rex has a very highly developed sense of smell. And then they had the bright idea to medicate the baby T-Rex, bring him into the trailer, and that's why the parents, the mother and father T-Rex come in and attack him, because they return the hatchling, but then they start attacking the trailer, and then their backpack is full of the blood of the baby on it. So what does she do?
Smells it out.
She keeps the backpack on and lures the T-Rex right back to them. With its highly developed sense of smell.
That she already noted.
Yeah.
I believe
you
that's
idiots.
what they call irony.
That's what they call a character being a dumb person.
Well, I mean, there's that too. But anyway.
Anyways. So.
Yes. So, any final miscellaneous thoughts about suspense thriller? Obviously, if you haven't figured it out yet, listeners, neither of us are, fantastic with this kind of stuff. I do read about it a lot.
Yeah, you read it a lot.
But that doesn't mean I've figured out the, riddle to writing it well.
Sort of like the mysteries episode we did earlier.
Yeah.
Where... you read a lot of it, and I have a lot of elements of it in my writing. Like, there's plot twists in my writing, and then there's a lot of tense moments in my writing, too. So, and as the same for you. Like, we have experience in this, we haven't really written, dedicated, specific books that are specifically dedicated as thrillers,
Right. But, we can still have thoughts, because obviously we wouldn't do this podcast if we didn't have way too many. This is probably the least appropriate genre for flashbacks.
I'd say so.
Because think about pacing. If thriller, the goal is to keep ratcheting up the tension, but what happens when you put a flashback in? You disrupt the pacing, you ratchet down the tension. Now, obviously, Donald already said you need some contrast, but some contrast is not literally, let's go figure out what happened 8 years ago to make this guy who he is. In the middle of a thing that I really want to find out why he's hanging from the cliff, what's going to happen, the literal cliffhanger.
Yes, indeed.
Anyway, particularly if you're Mr. Frank Brown, is a generic name, of course, has never dealt with this stuff before.
Frank Brown is the name you went for? Interesting.
Yes. That was just a random thing.
I guess it's not John Smith, so...
Yeah, that was the point. But it was still, like, common enough. I thought, maybe not Frank, but random enough. That was the goal. Anyway.
If I must be Frank, but no.
If you must be Frank Brown, let me finish.
I try too hard. I'm Edgar Wright. I'm what I hate.
You see yourself, and it's like, I don't like this. Anyway.
It holds up a mirror to my own inadequacies.
If Mr. Frank Brown has never dealt with this kind of stuff before, wasting a chapter on building your character just to start in medias res is probably not a good idea.
Probably not.
Like, yeah, you can have that happen before the main conflict starts, I suppose, but like having it in the middle of your narrative simply so you can start in the car chase scene doesn't make much sense. Koontz in particular likes setting the terms of engagement before the everyman actually is forced to act out of the norm. It sets up the nice home life. It sets up the wife that he loves so much, the car that, is decent and gets from point A to point B, maybe a little bit of financial trouble before opening the can of hell on them,
Right.
Another common technique is setting up a character briefly just to off that one immediately before we have time to get too attached, usually to prove just how badass the enemy is supposed to be.
And also, like, to show that no one is safe, so...
Right, because even that guard who we know his name and we know he has 3 kids that he'll leave alone when he eventually dies,
He's only a couple days away from retirement.
Well, and that one hits home, too, because my dad was also there.
Right,
but anyway, if your conflict isn't strong enough to keep ratcheted so high, think bigger.
Ooh. That's what she said. No.
Wow!
I brought it back!
You finally got yourself a chance.
And
but
speaking
anyway,
of that's what she said, you gotta keep the tension up.
well, jeez.
I'm such a child.
You're such a tryhard. Anyway,
I try. I am Edgar Wright.
but the point being, though,
keep the stakes high, make the plot gripping, and most of all, know when to use the ever so handy concept of contrast.
I was going to make a point off of mine, but you then decided.
Okay,
to
fine.
go.
Sorry, go ahead. Go on. Sorry.
My point being, like, you can only ratchet things to a certain point before you have to pay them off, whether it's something new or a resolution of something old. If you can't keep ratcheting that tension, then your plot's probably not big enough, or you took too long to resolve it.
Right. Makes sense.
Sorry. Back to what you were saying about using contrast, I believe, is where
I thought you said we don't cut in medias res, like... I don't know.
Not in a story form, but this is a dialogue. And this is
I suppose you're right.
Podcast.
Have moments where the tension breaks, so it can be risen again. Keep your characters in peril, but give them breaks, however rare or short.
Right.
So, do that, keep the tension up, keep the stakes high, you make the plot gripping, follow all this, and you got yourself a successful suspense thriller story. Well, that, and if you actually write the rest of the story well, too. Tense moments do not alone a good story make. Is that how the saying goes? I have no idea. Help me out, David!
I'm drawing a blank. I'm sure you cribbed it from some axiom, but I can't remember the base axiom or whatever I was talking about, and I'm sure it's close. Anyway.
Right. Anyways, that's it for this week.
If you follow this simple pattern, that you'll get all of these things to go. It's exactly right.
Right.
We know what we're talking about, quite obviously, because we are so much better than you with a teenage fanfic writer's writ and a lowly simpleton's wit.
Hey, you should not be talking about teenage fanfic writers, Mr. Registered Cyberstalker.
What?
Sorry.
Why did that come? Oh my god.
All right,
really?
I promise I won't bring it up after this episode. I just wanted to do a callback.
Yeah, a callback to a whole 20 minutes ago.
Anyways, want to
Anyway,
contact us?
Well, just to make sure we don't have any other thoughts rolling around, because we have this open prompt on our notes about, if we had any other questions to add.
That was when I thought that we wouldn't go on for that long, but as you can see...
Well, I mean, we do our job to make sure it lasts long enough.
Right. Anyways, so yeah, if you want to contact us at mattd@matthewdonaldcreator.com for any general questions to
Matt,
either
please.
co-host. What?
Please specify which co-host as well, because
Yes.
we both share Matt D in common.
Yes, we do.
That's if you want to get in touch with us, you can use your own email system or the contact us page at Matthew Donald Creator website, which obviously we just told you is in the email address as well.
Yes,
However,
indeed.
if you want to do professional stuffs for Donald over there, how do you do that?
Yes. You follow me at Matthew Donald Creator on Facebook, at Matthew Donald 64 on Twitter, and Matthew Donald 64 on Instagram. Why 64? Because look over there, David. What's that?
What? Where?
There. It's really big. It's a really big distraction.
Where? I don't see a distraction. I just hear a train.
Oh, it's gone. It's gone now. Well, shoot. Anyways. I'm seeing Edgar Wright. Hold that mirror. It's like you're trying too hard, Donald.
No, seriously, I heard a train. I mean, the listeners might. We'll see what happens. Anyway, that's, so suspense thriller. We're so good at what we do, aren't we, Donald?
Yep, I'm Matt Donald.
And I'm Matt David. Until next time, keep writing, listeners. We'll see you next week.
Keep writing.
The